Hello and welcome to today's video. This is the first of the yearly quarterly statistics. We've just put an end to quarter one, so it's time to look for our statistics. How has the reading gone? What can we see from the different pie charts and bar charts? What does it show us? What can we take from it? And that's basically it. So very exciting. I have dedicated an entire page to my quarter one statistics in my reading journal, so this is what we're going to be going over today. I've got them all in front of me, so I'm going to be talking about them and telling you what I think about them. And if I move over this way, hopefully here on the screen everything that I'm talking about will be being shown. So yeah, let's just get into it. First quarter is over. I guess first of all, I read 54 books. That is like the first thing to mention. Total books read is 54. And we can see how this looks separated per month in this bar chart here. So pretty standard January and February, to be honest. 15 and 13 is high. Like even for me, like those are normally my like upper. I would say normally between like 10 and 15 is my monthly read books, and we've done pretty good with that through the first two, and then March just blew it out the water. We got 26. There were quite a few reasons for this. One, I read a lot of haiku romance because I wasn't feeling great. Two, I decided it was eventually time to make sure I was cancelling my subscriptions, so every single subscription service that I wanted to cancel I went through and I read what I had on there before cancelling it. So there was a bit of a time constraint with that as well. However, this also looks pretty similar to the numbers when we look at pages. So this is now the bar chart of the pages per month. As you can see, pretty similar. Absolutely insane that I read almost 11,000 pages in March. Yeah, like that's, yeah, wow. Like that's not even January and February combined. Like January and February combined, we'd only be at like 9,000. So like 11,000 just in March. Absolutely mental. Like so happy with that. And the total pages that I've read throughout the entire year so far, throughout all of quarter one, is 19,641. So I mean, yeah, it's going really good. I don't expect the numbers to still be this high, to be honest. Like March exhausted me with making so much time for reading, and a lot of other things definitely fell behind to make sure I could cancel those subscriptions. So yeah, definitely won't be this high the rest of the year, I don't think, but it's fun to look at. And then I also thought I'd look at my average rating per month as well, so you can see the graph here. So January is a 4, February is a 3.615, and March is a 3.29. These are all really good. Obviously March is a bit lower, which I do think happens when I read a lot of romance, especially hockey romance. Like I'm not very good at knowing when to put them down in the stock because they're very easy, readable, fun, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good. My average rating for the entirety of quarter one is 3.565, so pretty middle of the road. I would like my average rating for the year to be higher. If I could get it to like a 3.8, that would be really nice, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. January was great, and hopefully we can go back to that sort of like reading top tier books. And remembering I can DNF, I can. So yeah. Okay, then let's look at the reading method. I read mostly via ebook, which isn't surprising. The main subscription I wanted to cancel was my Kindle Unlimited. It wasn't worth it for me anymore, but I had a lot of books out on there and a lot of books that I'd started on there. So yeah, 21 books via ebook. Not too surprising. That was followed by physical at 15, and then it was followed by audio at 13. This is slightly surprising for me just because I would have thought most of them were mixed media. Like most of the time I pick up an audiobook, I think of myself but also reading along with the ebook or the physical at the same time. But no, this quarter audio beat that, and mixed media, so books that I read in more than one way, was only 5. So yeah, a little different to what I'd expect, but doesn't really mean a lot, does it? It was all fun and I enjoyed how I read everything. In terms of rereading, I only reread one book, so that is a very small section of the pie chart. The big green section is 53 books read for the first time. I also made a bar chart for my star rating just to kind of see it, and I am quite pleased with how this looks. Obviously I'd prefer it to be less on the 0.5 to 2.5 end, and even more in the higher end. If this could look more like this, so we're just getting up and the most amount is high ratings and the least amount is low ratings, that would be better. But overall I think it looks pretty good. And then let's get into some other statisticky bits. Let's do what the book was. So books that I read, 36 of them were novels, 11 were non-fiction, 4 of them were essays and 3 of them were novellas. In terms of series or standalone, only 21 of them were standalone, the rest of them were series. And you can see on this pie chart here, I've actually started splitting my series up, so I know if I'm starting a series, continuing a series or finishing a series. So complete 6 series so far this year, which I think is pretty cool. We've started 10, but I will also say those series I have caught up to. I don't class them as finished because there's more books to come out, but what's out I've caught up to, so I think I've done pretty good. And then 17 continuing series, so yeah, pretty happy with that. Then we have the genre. The genre looks very different to what I'd expect, and the genre has been majorly skewed by the books I ended up reading in March. But because of that, romance is the biggest chunk of the genre so far. Normally this is fantasy, romance and fantasy. Those are normally the 2 biggest chunks, and they're normally pretty close to being which one is the biggest. But no, we've got romance at 18, followed by fantasy romance at 11, but that's also equal to non-fiction at 11, which is really cool. I've been really trying to read more non-fiction this year, and with non-fiction at 11 and memoir at 4, that is 15 non-fiction so far this year, so I'm really happy with that. And then the genres I've read a bit less of include fantasy at 4, followed by contemporary and sci-fi at 2 each, and then horror and dystopia at 1 each. But overall a pretty decent spread. I read a lot of genres, so I'm not too surprised that we've got a lot here, but to be honest I'm surprised there's not more here. I'm happy with this. I feel really good with my reading so far, so it's very interesting to see how the genres look. Again, I don't think this pie chart will look like this for the rest of the year. I think that fantasy and fantasy romance are going to get bigger and bigger, and I'm only aware of about 6 or 7 romance books that I reckon I'll pick up throughout the rest of the year, so I don't think romance will grow too much. But you never know what sort of mood I'm going to be in or how my reading taste is going to change, so that could alter. Okay, let's look at book length. I don't really have a lot to analyse with this one, but I'll pop it in. Book length is shown on a bar graph with 0 to 50 on one side and 1000 plus at the other. I've read 1 book this year that was over 1000 pages. Pretty sure that was the Zodiac Academy one, although I can't be sure, but I think that's what it was. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this. I don't pick up books based on how big they are. I do think we've got more smaller books this year than we do most years, because I've been really concentrating on non-fiction, and to make that a bit easier on myself, I have been picking out the shorter non-fiction books to kind of get myself into that mode and into the routine of picking up non-fiction. So I do think that's why there's more short books than normal, but yeah, still interesting. In terms of age categories, mostly adult books, which not surprising. Every year I read more and more adult and less young adult, and that seems to be the case this year as well. So we've got 34 adult followed by 17 new adult, which does tell me I've read a lot of independently or self-published books, because those are the ones that tend to market themselves as new adult. There's a lot of books in the traditional publishing world that I think should be new adult, but they are not marketed like that. They are often marketed as either adult and read a bit young, or young adult and read too old. So yeah, a lot of indie and self-published books, which I'm really happy with. Like, I definitely find a lot of books that I love that way. A lot of my favourite series are that way, so yeah, happy with that. Followed by 2 young adult, which, you know, not surprising. I think it will be more than this by the end of the year, but it's not surprising that it's one of the smaller ones. And then we also read 1 middle grade. I can't tell you what that middle grade is. I don't know what that middle grade is. Should I have a quick flick through? What book did I read this year that was considered middle grade? Oh, it might have been 1000 Paper Cranes, which was a non-fiction book. I think that might have been it, and I was very unsure about the age rating of it, but that was what it was marked as online. Yeah, I'm not coming across any other books that would be, so it must be that non-fiction, which I did question. I will link my, did I read that in January? Yeah, I will link my January wrap up there if you want to hear me talk about it more. But I was a bit surprised that it was aimed at such young readers. But yeah, okay. How did I get the books? Most of the books that I have read I owned, which is really good. I'm trying to get down my physical TBR, so I'm very happy about this. Followed by Kindle Unlimited, which isn't surprising, but as I've already said, I've now cancelled my Kindle Unlimited, so I would be very surprised if this chunk grows at all. I think the only way it would grow is if multiple like indie or self-published authors published in the same month, because it would be like cheaper for me to get Kindle Unlimited and read 3 or 4 books and purchase them individually. But I'm trying to get them physically now as well, because I'm enjoying the series I'm in the middle of so much that I am trying to switch to reading them physically rather than on Kindle. So yeah, I don't expect this segment of the pie chart to grow at all. Like, maybe it'll grow a couple, but I don't think it'll grow much at all throughout the year. And then through own 2025, so these are books that I purchased in 2025 that I've then read since purchasing, so again, that's great. And then what have we got here? 3 Kindle, so 3 books that like I actually owned on my Kindle. 2 books that I borrowed. I'm guessing those are going to be from Jay. To be honest, I haven't borrowed. No, I haven't borrowed anyone else's books this year, so these must be books off Jay, my partner's TBR, that I've stolen off him. 2 from Everand and 2 from Audible. So yeah, pretty even spread, but I'm happy with that. Then are these all representation that are left? These are representation-ish, I would say. We've got representation and then who the author is. We'll group these all together and go through them. So, was the LGBTQIA plus rep? This was 50-50. It was present in 27 books and absent in 27. I would like this to be higher, but to be honest, I haven't been looking for this year. So the fact that I am starting to get my TBR and the books that I'm getting in to have representation like naturally without having to search for it, I think that's quite a positive. So yeah, hopefully this will be higher by the end of the year, but for right now, 50%, pretty decent. Then we have disability representation. Again, not something I've been looking for. Like, there's been a couple of books that I knew it was going to be in, but except for that, like, I haven't been looking for, and it's been present in 17 books. So again, like, not good, but better than expected, and I am hoping that books are starting to naturally have representation in them that you can just pick up. I'm hoping that the newer books I get, as in like the more recently published books, will just naturally have representation in them. So 17 out of the 54, not terrible. Again, hopefully we'll get this to be better by the end of the year, but for now, it's okay. Then who was the book written by? So I've split this basically into how the author identifies. So we've got, what is that, 32 women, 10 men, 9 books by multiple authors, so I don't go through and try and figure it out and write them all out, they're just multiple authors. And then 1 non-binary, 1 gender fluid / genderqueer, and 1 not specified. So yeah, a pretty even spread. I like to read from a large variety of people. I would like to read from more gender fluid or genderqueer people, or more non-binary people. Like, I would definitely like to up those parts of this pie chart, but again, not something I've actually been looking for yet this year, and I'm feeling quite good about the range of books that I've read this year. So yeah. And then was the author a BIPOC author? So this is 10 yes, 40 no, 3 unknown. I could not find any. There were quite a few authors, probably also from the not specified section of the written by, but there was some that just didn't have anything about them written, like no about me section or no website or anything, and I'm not going to go searching. And then 1 not available. I actually remember what this is because I had a lot of trouble filling out my spreadsheet with this book, trying to figure out how best to answer every single question. I read a non-fiction collection which I think was by about 11 different authors, all of them from all over the world with different life experiences, different backgrounds, like lots of different people. So I think, yeah, when we've had the not available option for a lot of these, that's what that went as, because I was like, I don't know how to do this. So yeah, so not great. 10. It's not quite 20%, but I think I can do better, honestly. Like, I'm aware even just on my like recently purchased books, about 50% of them have been by BIPOC authors. So the ones I'm purchasing are coming in like a lot better percentage. It's just getting to reading. So yeah. I'm hoping by the end of the year this will be better, and I'm hoping by the end of the year my goal to lower my TBR will be one that I feel happy and comfortable in, and that will no longer be a goal going forward. So hopefully we can just keep it stable, and in that case it means that I can actually stop limiting how many books I'm allowing myself to buy. And then all of these statistics, the ones that I'm like, it could be better but don't know, all of them can actually be better because I can be buying the books I want to read now rather than the books that have been on my shelves for years. So yes. And then let's talk about nationality. I'm not going to go through these, to be perfectly honest. I'll pop it on the screen. Mostly American, 20 Americans, 13 that are British, 7 that are unknown, and then we have South African, Japanese, not available. Don't know how that's different to unknown. Might have made a mistake there. British American, Northern Irish, New Zealand, Canadian, Austro-German, British Bangladesh and Australian make up those other segments. So all the small segments are made up by that. Nationality is not something I really look for or look into. However, I do in my reading journal have a read around the world spread, which I try and keep on track with. My plan is at some point I thought I was going to do it this year, but then the TBR did not go down as much as I would have liked last year, so that goal got moved forwards. But hopefully if I can be happy with that goal next year, I can set an actual trackable way to make sure I'm reading diversely and reading from lots of different people from lots of different places. And my plan is, if I keep track of it, then I'll have something to improve upon. So right now I don't know the number or anything, and it's not like something I'm really keeping track of in my head, but I am colouring them in and I'm keeping track of it on this spreadsheet. And then hopefully next year, maybe the year after, if I have to push it back, that can be one of my goals, to like beat what I've done, like to read from more places, to read from different places. Not sure exactly what the goal will be yet. It's in the back of my head. I haven't really thought about it or worded it or exactly what I want to do. If I just want to beat it, or if I want to be like read from that amount at other places, I don't know. There's lots of possibilities, which is very exciting. And the last author led question is, was the author new to me? So I'd read from 26 of the authors before. I've not read from 27 of the authors. 27 of the authors were new to me and 1 not available. That again was that non-fiction collection by 11 authors. Some of them I'd read from before, some I hadn't. It just went into not available. So yeah. And then let's look at the tiny little section I've got down the bottom here, and this is all about my books purchased. So books acquired. I actually have not wrote down the total here, so let's do a quick bit of maths. 8, 4, 12, 12, 14, 26. So 26 books purchased so far in 2025. Not bad, not bad. I think to have kept it to my goal, it would have only been at 18. I think I set my goal to no more than 6 a month. As you can see, if we split this down into months, there was 4 purchased in January, 8 in February and 14 in March. So it's getting more. Probably need to put a bit of a lock of it again and try and purchase less. There's been a lot of really good books coming out, a lot of series being continued, a lot of fun stuff. So we'll see, but I'll try. In terms of books that I purchased new and books that I purchased used, 10 of those books I purchased new and 16 I purchased used. This is about right for me, to be honest. I do prefer to buy books used if I can. I love going to the charity shop, love finding a bargain, and the ones that I'm really excited about I will purchase new to have them when they come out. And have I read them? This is 50-50, so 50% of the books that I've purchased this year I've already read. I have brought a few books that I had already read and then purchased them, so that also counts towards read. There are a few books that I read and gave like 5 stars to on my Kindle or just via audio, and I was like, that is 5 stars, I will want to reread that, let's buy it, especially if I can find it cheap secondhand. So yeah, that is all of the statistics I've got wrote down. I think that's all the statistics I have to go over. I can tell you my favourite book of each month, so I do have that page somewhere. So in January my favourite book of the month was Sipping Dom Perignon Through a Straw. In February my favourite book was Machine Readable Me, and in March, it's difficult, but I think I have to go with Restless Stars. It was the final book in the Zodiac Academy series, and there was a lot of 5-star books in March, so it is more difficult. There's 1 amazing non-fiction and 2 fictions that got 5 stars that all feel very much like around the same, but I think I'd have to pick Restless Stars. It was the 9th book in the series, and there was loads of additional books I've read. I think I've read like 25 books in this universe now, and it was just the perfect ending to that part of the series, so I think that's the one I have to go for March. And yeah, I think that must be everything. If there are any statistics I'm missing, do let me know in the comments down below and I can always add them in. But yeah, that is it for my Q1 statistics. I do really hope that you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like if you did like it. Subscribe down below if you want to see more content like this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.